The ongoing developments in Los Angeles. I've noticed a lot of different flags flying held by the protesters. Mm-hmm. Mexican flags, Palestinian flags, Salvadoran flags. The prediction in various things that I've read, including including an NBC news story, is that this is the beginning of a summer of this, that this will be taking place in many. Well, you saw it pop up here a week ago today in Minneapolis, almost instantly.
I found myself on a conspiracy kind of website, shocking for me, I know. And it was saying that they're scheduled, mind you, for all over the United States.
New York, Chicago, Dallas, Atlanta,
definitely
and elsewhere, and here.
Yeah, and much bigger than what we saw over the weekend. And here's where the conspiracy part plays in, that somebody, we don't know who, is stocking these cities with bricks to throw at law enforcement.
Well, I spent a little time studying that.
Yeah.
To verify that, and yes,
it's true.
It's true that a pickup truck unloaded for protesters wrapped squares of concrete blocks.
Yeah.
Then another video the New York Post had showed a pickup truck with the guy standing in the bed, and he backed into an area where there were a group of protesters, and he was distributing tactical gear.
Oh, as a protest was happening?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now, I did not know this. These demonstrations that are planned, they are planned for this coming Saturday, national demonstrations. Okay. And they're called No Kings demonstrations, which suggests that the object of the protest is Trump, that he's behaving like a king with his desire to remove illegals from the country. That's something apparently the protesters think a king would do. And I've had a lot of deep thoughts about this on the service road of life.
Okay.
And it might be premature to say it, but maybe not now that I know or am reading that these protests are anticipated to sweep the country. If not next Saturday, then possibly all summer. And what it suggests to me is the country's up for grabs. That's how it feels to me.
To whom?
Yeah. Expand on that, please.
The mystery, which in my estimation is the desire to bring about a different country than the one we know, has made significant inroads. And the behavior by Mysterians to wish to have anyone who wishes just live here because that's their end game, I believe. This plays well into the desires of the mystery. And then there's a certain segment of America, let's call it half of America, who want law and order and don't want people here illegally. And heads are about to be butted. So on one side, you've got Trump, who's portrayed as the evil king who is trying to bring about this law and order. Doing some things that are unprecedented, which only fuels the anger towards him. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the other side, which apparently is planning and organizing these protests in the hopes to win over the hearts of Americans to make them realize that they're being ruled by a king, and a king should not be declaring any action that would remove people because it's too reflective of imperialism and capitalism. And that's what the mystery wishes to be undone. So here we have it in California. These are undeniably not peaceful protests.
Right.
These are the burning of police cars, for example. Just as an aside, given what California just went through in January, I'd really be careful of fires in California.
Yeah.
You know, I'd get a fire truck on the scene instantly.
You don't believe in Karen Bass to be able to help with the fires?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
I'm just glad she's in L.A.
The law the law in many cases is considered what? A suggestion? You have to remember that part of the mystery is the dispute that there should be such a thing as authority.
Right.
That's part of the mystery, that there shouldn't be, thus the defund the police movement, for example, and the anti-police sentiment, that law and order should not exist because law and order is merely an affectation of capitalism and imperialism, although I don't happen to think of America as an imperialistic country. It's certainly a capitalistic country. That's frowned upon. The people, the dyed-in-the-wool activists who are professional activists, they don't. It's beyond not respecting the law. They don't believe that law should exist, and therefore it's not unusual to have these confrontations. Then you've got that compounded by cities like Los Angeles and Minneapolis declaring we're sanctuary cities. That means we have instructed our police departments they cannot work with immigration control enforcement. That's not allowed in Minneapolis and Los Angeles. The cops just had another document to that effect in Minneapolis yesterday. Don't contribute any help to ICE. I think Cockwomble is going to be testifying before Congress as some sanctuary state governors are being brought to Washington, D.C. and grilled about the efficacy of this taking place, that their states have become sanctuary states. So you've got a conflict right there. In fact, here it is right here. Walz will testify before Congress this week during a hearing on sanctuary states. He's going to be grilled apparently by Congressman Jim Jordan. I believe he's from Ohio. Yeah, he's a Republican Ohio.
Wrestling coach.
And he believes Walz's stance on illegal immigration is ridiculous. Not all Democrats are crazy, Jordan said, but the left that controls their party is, and they've got crazy policy after crazy policy, Jordan said, pointing to sanctuary laws as one example. So the hearing will be Thursday. Hearing with sanctuary state governors will examine how the state's policies shield criminal illegal aliens from federal immigration enforcement. Walz is scheduled to testify before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee alongside fellow Democrats J.B. Pritzker of Illinois and Kathy Hochul of New York. Although Minnesota has not formally declared itself a sanctuary state, certain cities and counties limit cooperation with immigration authorities, including Minneapolis and St. Paul. For example, Minneapolis police were just reminded that they are prohibited from involvement in any federal civil immigration enforcement activity. Additionally, the Minnesota Attorney General's office recently told Minnesota law enforcement agencies that they risk significant civil liability if they enforce immigration detainers. Walz himself has backed declaring Minnesota a sanctuary state in the past and has signed laws granting state benefits to illegal immigrants. For this reason, the Oversight Committee considers Minnesota a sanctuary jurisdiction. So there's a tremendous collision of laws here. I know states have their sovereignty, and I'm a believer in states' rights, but I'm over my depth in wondering why states can get away with ignoring federal immigration control enforcement. I guess they can, especially when you have the people in place that we have. So
Can they, or is it not worth the fight from a federal level?
I don't know the answer to that. What we have here is my belief that because of all these different aspects of the law being regarded, I think the country's up for grabs. And maybe as soon as by the end of the summer, we'll know who won. Either it'll be the United States of the mystery or it'll be the United States. Because I do believe that these are going to continue. I do believe these protests are going to continue.
Doesn't it seem like certain parts of the country have already been spoken for. Minnesota, California, Colorado. Mm-hmm. You say they're up for grabs. Well, maybe it's 45 states left up for grabs, or 40 states. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Ken, you can throw in Illinois, right?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of states have already been compromised, and it's too late to go back.
State of Washington.
I mean,
Oregon.
Thomas Sowell said something to the effect that if the law is merely considered to be a suggestion, then civility is negotiable.
Which is on full display right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if the law is merely something that you would adhere to if you happen to agree with it, then this is a big problem, John, from top to bottom in this country. Yeah. And if the law is something you merely happen to agree with, well, then so is citizenship. So is nationality. So is a civil contract. That's all negotiable. And here are my terms if I'm a Mysterian, and then here are my terms if I'm Trump. And here are my terms if I'm Walz, and here are my terms if I'm Kathy Hochul. Well, there should be one set of terms, and historically there has been. It's a more complex problem, and I think people are willing to admit. I think it's rife with problems.
Would you consider it have we been gaslit? Is this gaslighting because it just made this general? It wasn't a cliff drop. It was a slow curve up, and now we're here.
Well, we saw it coming a long time ago, but the mystery has made its inroads. It's here. I think this, I don't want to say something ridiculous, but this could be the summer of the mystery. This could be the summer of the country's up for grabs.
Yeah.
This could be it. Because you got the right president in place, because he's so relatable to the mystery. He's what the mystery is against. And in fighting the mystery, which he doesn't know he's doing because he doesn't know what the mystery is, he'll bend every rule possible to fight the mystery. And so you've got a real mishmash here of just utter confusion and
May I ask a question?
yeah.
If we weren't recording the podcast, would you have used the word mishmash?
No. No, I might have used a
much more aggressive term.
Creative.
more aggressive term would be a good way to put it.
Just watching you